patience or good. It's true.
I'd like to call the county board meeting to order. Would you all please rise and join with me in reciting the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning to our February meeting. And Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Certainly. Farnham.
Here.
Lawton.
Here.
Luddington.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Bruner.
Here.
Ellis.
Here.
And Voigt.
Here. Next item is claims against the county. Board members, you've received those several days ago. Do you have any questions or clarifications needed on those claims?
Yeah, one, on Committee Code 40, which is the admin, have the whole energy efficiency project started before I came on board. Have you done a study on its effectiveness as far as the costs?
They have done, they do that every year.
Okay, have we, do they include our bills, our statements? Because I haven't seen anything. I would find it helpful if we asked Don, when he has more time, to have his staff just run us some reports showing monthly expenses.
You'd probably have to look at kilowatt usage, or, you know, because, I mean, everybody's electric bill's gone up this year a lot.
Right, I
So
know.
you'd have to look at, how much energy
Okay.
we're saving. Now, they've done a study and given us the results of the study, and shown that it was, that it saved
We
money,
did, yeah.
but
And I think what I vaguely remember is we could still do that, but at a cost.
right.
Okay.
They're
You
gonna
know.
charge us every year, and I can guarantee you, having them do it now, it's gonna save money, or it's gonna show savings over.
Because it did the first couple of years, so you would assume it still would be, but, you know, there's gonna be a cost if we want them to go through the whole
Well, if
process.
you're confident and comfortable, then I just know that it's been going on a while.
Right. Do you have the energy bills? You have. the
Yeah,
energy
we
bills.
sent a copy on to, I believe it was Centrica,
Centrica.
and so they could do a measurement for 12 months. Now, it's been several months ago since we've done that, but, yeah.
Well, if you're confident, then that's your commitment.
How long do you keep bills? In other words, can we look back before what our usage was? Let's see.
Well, we scan them in, so we
Scan 'em.
we
So
have
you've got
them.
'em.
We've
Okay.
got them.
And usage, not just the amount, but usage.
Whatever's on the bill, we've got
Whatever's
it
on the
all.
bill, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way we keep track of it.
Okay.
So I assume those reports that they did the first couple of years, you've got those.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
we have.
well, we need to get that, we can take a look at it again.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Any further questions? Motion to approve claims, please. Okay, Lisa moves. Russ seconds. That's an unusual combination, but thank you. Are there any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That is carried. County board claims.
Mr.
County
Chairman,
board.
did we need to do the minutes?
I'll get back to it.
Excuse me.
All right, county board claims. Any questions or concerns about that? Hearing none, motion to approve. Dan moves. Lisa seconds. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. They are carried. And as Augie has pointed out, I forgot January 11th regular meeting minutes and the special meeting minutes of January 18th. Are there any questions or concerns about those minutes? Hearing none, motion to approve. Lisa moves.
Oh, you want to roll,
Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. They are approved as submitted. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next, we come to the portion of the meeting for public comment. We ask that you come up to the rostrum if you feel like it, identify yourself, and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Are there any comments this morning that anybody wishes to make?
There's a big chance.
Buddy,
5 minutes.
it won't last that long. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm here with Neighborhood Watch just to make sure that, I know you guys were invited at the pre-meeting to come to the flock presentation for the license plate reader camera system on the 22nd at 6 p.m. Memorial School. The camera system, they're actually coming to Kansas Police Department next Tuesday to download it on our laptops and squad cars and to train the officers on the use of that. They're gonna give us the opportunity to be able to use the flock system in the surrounding counties, which most counties around us, as well as Indiana, have the license plate readers. And so we're gonna be able to get a first glimpse at that. Is there any questions on the system?
Cost of those, Doug?
What's the
So
lease program? Because they're all lease programs.
it's a lease where they handle all the maintenance, all the setup, all that. There's a charge to set them up. I think right now it's a little less than $1,000 to set up. And then they're about $4,500 for a 2-year contract, a 2-year contract. I will tell you that Flock called me last week. They'll be able to tell you more about it on the 22nd, but there's an advantage to actually doing it sooner rather than later, because they are, like everybody else, getting ready to have a substantial price increase. So the state's gonna charge more for the setup, to be on state grounds and state highways. So there is a little bit of extra charge, but they'd be able to explain all that to you at that point.
Will the city pay for that?
I think,
Or
so,
is there a fund or a grant or something?
so basically what all the neighborhood watch is doing is inviting the county and the city. We're trying to get everybody to take a look at this. We've invited Chrisman, we've invited Kansas, we've invited everybody to kind of take a look and see if this will help. This is basically a force multiplier. It helps the police in a lot of ways. They'll be able to explain that. But we're not dealing with the funding or any of that.
Okay.
We just know that other areas are using them. We're inviting you to come see what they look like and see if they'd be beneficial to the county.
That's 4,500 per camera?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And they've already mapped out the county on locations.
They're easy to adjust. They think that they can do a first run of the county, the entire county, including city areas, for about 8 cameras to get an initial start to really kind of lock that in. But yeah, it's involving Chrisman, Kansas, Paris, because some of those cameras will be in city limits.
So they'll split the cost, the different counties, or?
There's no setup,
There's
they're
no
not
setup.
involved with
That's
cost.
for all you guys to decide.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's the purpose of all the.
The other, I guess the one thing to make sure everybody understands is these cameras, there's nothing that Neighborhood Watch would have to do with these or civilians. These are police-generated cameras only, without the county or the city doing it. That's a no-go. You can't do these for any other purpose.
Right. And they're great, like in Kansas, if there's an armed robbery, there's an abduction or whatever, we'll get an alert on our computers in Kansas, and so we can prepare to intercept that vehicle. So they are a proven crime-fighting tool nationwide. I mean, the Chicagoland area's been using it for years. State police has really got a lot of people off the streets with those. I mean, they're an excellent tool.
It'll be worth it.
So I think that, I hope that the county board will attend that meeting and listen. Like I said, we're lucky enough next week starting to get a first look over in Kansas. So like I said, they're gonna download everything. They're gonna train us to use those systems, and so I think it's a very proactive.
So Kansas is gonna go ahead and do it?
Well, Kansas is gonna go ahead, they're gonna download everything for us, so we can have access to cameras in surrounding counties
Okay.
Kind of
to
as
be
a
able to
test.
use it. But Kansas, just like Chrisman and just like you guys will be at that 22nd
Right.
meeting, the chief is on board over in Kansas. We've had several conversations.
I
John,
read the article in the
Yeah.
paper that they were talking about
Yeah.
3 different
got
entries into the camera.
Charles and Matt Tune have already have them.
From your guys' standpoint too, I think Officer Jenkins
Right.
he contacted me and he's been in touch with Flock, so he may be getting the same pre-look as everybody else. I think he was gonna try to do that with Flock.
There's several up in Tilton and Danville and over towards Champaign, and actually, was it last week, Paxton
Yeah,
has signed
I
on,
remember.
and they're gonna turn theirs on come 1st of May.
Mhm.
So, we wanted to be the first to get this going, we're the last. So, but we're going to Hume's meeting on Monday evening too, to involve them also.
Right. And I spoke with Sheriff Brown in Clark County and of course Sheriff Martin over in Coles, and they're looking to put those in the county as well. So it's
What time was that meeting on the 22nd?
6 p.m. Memorial School.
Memorial School.
And Bob explained at our meeting the other day that thing that he's doing is kind of separate from this flock system. You know,
Yeah.
like security cameras.
Right. Yeah, the volunteer. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
if we can get that database up and running though, and get a lot of people to sign up, this would integrate with it, because once somebody trips a flock camera, the police may be able to find a pattern of where they've gone inside of town using the local cameras.
And that database, like Bob was mentioning before, that database is countywide, so anyone that has any kind of camera countywide can join that database.
That include, Vigo County, I know they use them a lot over there.
Yeah, the flock system is in Vigo County, and we'll get access to their cameras.
Okay.
Basically, we're gonna get access to cameras all around. We'll get access to the ones in Chicago, so if there's an abduction or anything, stolen vehicle, they'll be able to go by description. They don't have to have the license plate. They can go by descriptions, and it'll be able to key every agency until that car is apprehended.
Where are the cameras located in town? Stop signs or stoplights or?
And
They'll
that,
load all that, they'll show you that, it'll be easy for them to adjust, but they're mainly putting them at points of entry into the county, Route 1, 150. They'll tie them in, if we go with it, they'll tie them in with Charleston and what they're doing, so that we get a basic setup of trying to protect Edgar County with it.
A lot of
we
the
want you guys
questions,
there because we want your input on this also, okay?
that's
And
why
think
the
about it.
22nd is an
Yep.
important meeting.
100%.
Yes, sir.
Right, and the thing about those cameras is if something happens in Edgar County, the other agencies in other counties will be, it'll alert them too. So it's just not us getting alerted, they'll get alerted. So it's a win-win.
They're
And the
better.
sheriff has been invited, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
And so
Yeah.
has,
All law enforcement agencies within the county have been invited, as well as the municipality and boards. So,
Anything further, guys? Any?
thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Appreciate it very much. Are there any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
So, hi, my name is Ambrosia Roberts, and I am the Edgar County Recovery Oriented Systems of Care Coordinator, which stands for ROSC. Some people in this room may recognize myself and my recovery navigator, Nikki Hanks. ROSC is a new program here in Edgar County. It's actually a grant-funded program underneath the Our House in Charleston. But we are new to Edgar County. Our grant cycle began July 1 of this year. So we just wanted to come in today and just tell you guys a little bit about what ROSC is. So basically what a ROSC tries to do in communities is build a community that supports recovery. So we do this in many ways. So we have one-on-one meetings with various agencies or individuals in the community. We also try to build a council, and with this council we work on a strategic plan in which we just have community voices that voice to us what they want to see done in the community in terms of recovery. We also have, like I said, a council meeting where we meet once a month and discuss these various things. We also try to meet various sectors as a part of our council. So we have law enforcement involved, we have healthcare, we have treatment, and then we have people with lived experience. So those that were previously in addiction who are now in recovery. Also our recovery navigator, Nikki, she holds educational groups in the community that just provide education regarding like stigma and addiction and recovery to people. Maybe they are in current addiction, maybe they're new to recovery, or maybe they're 10 years sober, and she just provides that extra support to them as well. So again, we have our next council meeting on the 28th of this month at 5 p.m. at Paris Hospital in Conference Room A. So I guess that's just a little synopsis. Do you guys have any questions for me regarding Ross?
Do you work in
with, Human Resource Center?
We do partner with them in a lot of things with HRC. We also, on our council, we have, like Jonathan and Norm very involved, and we partner in a lot of things together.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Do you want to say anything now for the ambulance, or have any questions while we're,
I believe Samantha's gonna handle that today.
all right.
Have an annual report for 2022.
Do you want to do that now? And that
Sure.
way, if you need to boogie, you can.
I do
Okay?
need to, thank you. 2022 summary, we normalized pandemic operations. Obviously, you all are feeling it the same way we do. There's increased costs with fuel, increased costs with supplies. That is coming more in line. We're starting to see some of those things level out to know what they're going to be post-pandemic. On the positive side, we graduated 16 first responder students and 15 EMT students, several of which are now employed. We graduated our first EMTB course at the high school last spring, 2 of which are employed and 1 is in college for paramedic school. Began to offer first responder courses at the sophomore and junior class level to get those feeders into the healthcare careers. Adam worked successfully to remount our first purchased ambulance that we purchased in 2018 and upgraded and reupholstered the patient compartment, bringing our fleet to 6 ambulances, 5 of which are licensed, 1 is an education truck, and then Adam's response truck. We increased the mobile integrated health free service, working with a nurse practitioner that goes into the home, and saw 1,292 patients inside their homes. We had a successful startup to offset that free service with what is called remote patient monitoring, and we have 108 patients inside their homes that are being monitored, that we can look at their blood pressure, their weight, different things with their chronic illnesses to help manage their health care better. Responded to 2,226 patient interactions via 911 calls with no unresolved complaints and no clinical errors. Completed 644 interfacility patient transfers. We continued to back up the surrounding agencies with fire standbys, intercepts, public assistance calls, and we did have 419 calls where there was a refusal for service. Continued to work collaboratively with ESDA on supply and emergency response preparedness. Continued to work collaboratively with police, fire, sheriff, and 911. In April, I began a monthly public safety official meeting, which is attended by all of the previously mentioned people, and we have a monthly meeting to discuss issues, concerns, things that happen on calls, don't happen on calls. Has been a really good collaborative group that we started. Provided medical support and a mobile ER tent at our county fair during a high-risk concert, and we'll continue to work with that board to determine the needs going forward. Participated in multiple school, sectional, regional, and state championship escorts. Most escorted teams in the counties anywhere. Began scenario-based monthly education with the fire department staffs to ensure a seamless mutual response and training, and to help fire meet their CEU requirements. Probably Adam's most proud moment was developing a field training officer program. For those of you that are in law enforcement, you're familiar with the field training officer program. Unfortunately, with EMS, there is no standardized how do you onboard a new person, and we know that turnover is extremely expensive. So in order to formalize that onboarding process and decrease the level of turnover that we have, he worked in sending some of his staff away for training on how to consistently develop a program of onboarding new staff. With that, the new staff member, for a period of about 3 months, spends time with a preceptor, but they also go to our dispatch center. They go ride along with the police officer, they ride with the fire department, the volunteers, they are in our ER and in our ICU, so that they have a full, well-rounded experience in training prior to coming out and taking their first ambulance call. One of my most proud moments is I formalized a peer support program, formerly what you guys know as probably critical incident stress debriefings, to implement stress debriefings and trauma to first responders. We invested in formalized training for a CISD team, in conjunction with our psychologist. And this year held 4 formal CISD sessions related to calls that first responders had to go on. And they are also attended multi-agency. We've had dispatchers there, we've had police there, we've had fire there, obviously EMS and ER staff. We actually, one of our calls actually had the family member of a decedent come and want to tell the staff what a good job that they did. We modified staffing schedules based on the staff's request to promote a better work-life balance. Some of our crews work 2 days and have 4 days off, and some of our crews work 1 day and have 2 days off. It's whatever works best for their life and their family, and that has also helped normalize our turnover. Held our first ever Touch a Truck event in conjunction with the back to school event that the hospital hosts. We used many area agencies and business and had over 400 children interact with first responders. Had active shooter training and walkthroughs with District 95, did an Interstar training of a live line, and secured a grant for 2023 to offer 20 students to have free first responder education. Sean, our educator, is currently working with the Fire Protection District, probably going to be offering that up around the Hume, Chris, and Metcalf Shiloh area to bolster the amount of first responders in that area. Trained 17 first responders at NAL and secured a contract to provide their monthly CE education for those first responders. And then recertified all of Edgar County Sheriff's Office and Paris PD in not only BLS, AED, but Narcan usage. Any questions about EMS in 2022?
Sounds like you're busy.
I appreciate the escort out of town. I like to stop at any stoplights or stop signs or railroads. Just keep it up.
Yeah.
I know earlier this winter, I was at the jail one day and one of your EMTs was there and I thought, that's a great idea, so they can understand, what's all involved in getting the message to them and what their needs, and maybe they can understand some of your needs,
I think the
conversation,
number one
interaction.
thing with that program is Adam and I have been doing this for a lot of years. So there was this fallacy that we just expect somebody new coming in knows what it's like to walk into a jail, or knows what it's like to go on a mental health call where the police are there. And it kind of came to light, we were doing a training out at the fire training center where they were using, the fire department was using, they were cutting apart a car. And one of our newest employees said, I've never even heard that sound of metal being cut away. And it was like a light bulb went off, and I thought, gosh, I've heard that a million times, but that could be very scary to somebody, and then that could make them start questioning their career. And so if you give them that up front and you preload them with some of that, you kind of decrease that fear and anxiety, which hopefully in turn will decrease. One of Adam's goals this year is to have a turnover rate of less than 8%. I'm pushing him to be less than 5%. That's how we're gonna monitor and measure that success of that program. All right, well, thank you guys.
When's the contract up?
June 1 of 2024. So you have a little over a year.
So we don't wanna let that skip by us, and we can address it in a timely manner to start the procedure on dealing with that. But I wanna let you know, I think you guys have done an excellent job since you took over the ambulance service.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate that. It was not an easy task getting there, but thank you. One of the things that I did not, after I say all of those things that I'm proud that we do, I think the most thing that I'm proud of is, that you can pass this around, is my staff's faces.
Proud of the faces.
Yeah, because you know what, when you see a picture like that and they're all smiling, you didn't see that previously. And to me, that is the biggest measure of success, is happy staff.
That wouldn't have paid my breakfast.
You make more than them, Dan, I
Oh,
promise you. You
okay.
can pay them for their
Much more
breakfast.
than everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on into the, are there any other public comments? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna add one more thing to that I'm actually gonna head out to. Right now, we work with Paris Fire and the Fire Protection District both. We have a agreement with Paris Fire. They don't respond to all medical calls. There's certain high acuity calls that they will respond to. I was contacted by Rick Easton, the new district chief, and we were gonna put in the same implementation for the district. So right now, if we go to a call out in the county for a volunteer department, they respond to every medical call. But maybe not necessary all the time, so saves them some man-hour time, saves the district some time paying, or some money paying their volunteers. But we'll implement the same policy we have with Paris Fire at their request. We're both agreeable to it. So you will see them not go on as many calls, but it is a mutual agreement. Everybody thinks it's the best thing for everyone. But there also is the understanding that if it's not something they normally go on, but we request additional help, that they have no problem to respond.
Okay.
Any questions for me before
Thank you, Adam.
thank you guys.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to approve the Edgar County Health Department mobile food ordinance. You've had that before you. The director or administrator was with us on Monday. Do you have any additional comments about the ordinance as it's presented? And by the way, it has been approved by the Edgar County Health Department Board. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the ordinance as presented. Lisa moves. Dan seconds. Any further comment? Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Levington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
and Ellis.
Yes.
Is approved, thank you. The next is Administrative Office of the, well, let's see, I'll read. Authorize chairman to execute lease agreement with the State of Illinois Office of Statewide Pretrial Services through its authority agent, the Administrative Office of the Illinois Department, or Illinois Court System. This is a lease for an office at the new annex, about 117 square feet. I think it's office 22 or 25. At any rate, it is a 5-year lease that is, there are escape clauses in it, but it's basically a 5-year lease, and it's for $1,638 a year. So, questions or discussions? Yes, Carl?
If for some reason, when we make the move down to Diamond Brothers, that maybe we need to move them to a different office,
That's fine.
that's fine with
As
them.
long as it's comparable square
Right.
footage.
All right.
Yes.
And they're also gonna use this office
Right here,
right
yes.
here, and that's free of charge to them.
Correct. And Harsey can use it, our
Public
public defender,
Right.
in, what's the lady's name that's public?
I never can remember
Yeah,
her name.
Sydney, yeah, she's also,
Right.
anyway.
Lapita. Is that her name, Lapita?
Lapita, yes, Mrs.
Both
Lapita
of them, I think.
would also use that, because she's a, kind of our assistant
Right.
public defender.
Yep.
Andy, do you have any questions? Anybody else? Motion to approve, please. Dan moves. Russ seconds. Roll call.
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Levington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
and Ellis.
Yes.
Thank you, it does carry. Next is action on a liquor license submitted by Michael Wilson for South Fork Homestead, Inc. We discussed this on, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, yes, please leave.
Somebody, don't forget me.
Thanks, Carl. It seems kinda, but they were here to, on Monday morning to describe what they're doing. I think everybody had their questions answered. Are there any other questions or concerns? Motion to approve. Okay, Lud moves and Carl seconds. Any further? Roll call, please.
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Ludington,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
and Ellis.
Yes.
Okay. Does carry, thank you. We'll get Andy back in here. Reason Andy had to leave was he owns a liquor license himself. And in the state of Illinois, if you're on a board that decides liquor licenses, they have to be totally removed from any discussions or actions on anybody else's license, just in case you're wondering from the audience. He wasn't a bad boy or anything. All right. Tom, do you have a lot to tell us or a little to tell
I have
us?
very little to tell you other than we're waiting for spring.
We do have bids going out for the main runway in April. And hopefully they'll be successful this time. The funding's available for it, so we hope to proceed. They're closing out the old taxiway
Yeah.
project that should be closed out by summer. And that looks really nice. Tom's tooling around in his new vehicle out there, and scooping
Let's
snow.
clarify that. We don't want people to think we have new cars.
Well, I figured you'd expound. It's your report.
Our side by side is working well. We did plow some snow.
So
Is your weather station working? I noticed the other day, 117, it didn't show any
Oh, yeah.
wind speed.
We had trouble with our phone line.
Okay.
So that when you called the weather station, you couldn't get it, but it was repaired this last
Okay.
week.
Well, I seen that, I figured there was something wrong.
Okay, thank you. Augie?
Really, the only thing I have to report is we finished proofing the ballots for the upcoming election on April the 4th. So, early voting starts, I believe, February the 23rd. So it's right around the corner.
Is it true that there are a lot of empty slots in school districts and/or town boards?
Not so much the school districts, but in some of the local villages and city of Christman. Yeah, there's no candidates. You'll see that on your various ballots.
All right, thank you, Augie. Wyatt, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Do you have anything you would like to discuss with us?
Well, first I've got a special guest. Hi, I'm Gal. I'm job shadowing today and I'm a senior at Paris. And I'm also the president of the FFA.
Well, welcome to you. Glad you're here.
She's tagging along today, so I figured what better place to bring her than here.
That's right.
So I do have a couple things. First off, I want to say thank you to Lisa as well as Gary for attending our annual meeting this past Saturday.
I was out of town. I would
Not a problem, but we appreciate it nonetheless. Second, I want to say thank you to Lisa again for being a rock star on this broadband initiative thing. It's a lot of info, a lot of meetings, so we're still working through that. I appreciate being a part of that, for sure. And that kind of rolls into the other thing. We're talking about that House Bill 4412. It's kind of taking the meat out of our ordinances that we've all worked so hard on. And I mentioned that we were putting together a pro-ag resolution for you guys to potentially pass here either in March or April. I have copies for you guys. I took a lot of filler out from the first draft Home Office sent me. It's a lot of reading. So I'll give these to you guys. You guys can read through them. If there's anything you want changed or added, you just let me know and I'll get it to you guys and we can get this passed. You know, it's unfortunate that it's gonna take all the meat out of, our ordinances that we worked so hard on, but this is a good way to support, to show the community you still support ag and everything that comes with it, so.
We appreciate that. I talked to Lisa earlier today before the meeting, and you were maybe going to, or Farm Bureau was going to be able to help us dissect what we actually have to do And still, we don't wanna lose our ordinance, and if we don't act within 120 days,
Right,
we could lose what we do have.
right.
So we wanna be, I guess, effective in what we do.
Right,
And we appreciate Farm Bureau's help with that. I know Lisa probably has talked to you about it.
yeah, and we're still waiting kind of what the word is. It's signed in the law as far as I know.
It was signed in on January 27th.
Yes, so we're kind of waiting to see what we need to do. We
Right.
don't really know yet. State staff is working very hard to, in the spring session here, get a bill, or even the fall, get a bill passed with it that'll kind of bring in those protections that it's lacking right now. Because it doesn't have any of these things that we work so hard to get.
Right.
So they're working hard for that, and that kind of ties into the other thing, we are doing another landowners meeting, because this is kind of opening Pandora's box again. We're gonna do a landowners meeting over in Charleston in conjunction with Douglas, Moultrie, Shelby, Coles, Cumberland, I think, is the other one. And I will get information to Lisa if any of you guys wanna attend. Just let me know so I can put you on the RSVP list. We just figured it would be pertinent for the community to be aware of it, so it'll go out to all of our members. It is a members-only event, but I'll make an exception for you guys. So,
So did that law change was more than just the setbacks? Or- See, I didn't read it, but mainly I was concerned about the setback, but it was more.
There's other things in there also.
yeah, there's nothing for reclamation or, drainage, tile, all that. We spent how long trying to make sure all that language was
Right.
right, to protect landowners' rights.
So what we'd like to see is that we change the setbacks and anything that the law says we have to change, and then we keep or insert anything that isn't covered in that.
Right.
That's the hope. And now, our policy does support a set of statewide standards, but this is not statewide standards, this is just a bill. So,
Yeah, okay.
until we have statewide standards set by Illinois, this is what we're gonna work with, so.
How many counties were deemed unfriendly and we fell in that group?
15.
15? Yeah, so. Of course, a lot of counties don't even have an ordinance.
Right, and
So-
I'll give you guys credit, there are other counties that have taken, I've passed it on to other farm bureaus, and they've taken your ordinance and, modified it to their county, but you guys have been, stepping stone for a lot of other places.
All right, one of the things, for example, I noticed it mentions flicker in there and so many hours and noise falls to the state standard. But then the lighting and, there's a lot of other things that we could still have in the ordinance.
Right.
For example, if the lighting doesn't come on full until it detects aircraft and so forth like that.
Right, and it doesn't even mention the AMA, which is just, makes no sense to me, how they would not include the statewide standard that they already have, so, it's crazy, but we're working on it.
Well, we appreciate your help and continued help on it. We also appreciate your help on broadband that you're working with us on. So we have a pretty good, strong partnership with the local Farm Bureau, and we appreciate it. Was that it? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope.
Okay,
Usually I don't have that much, but
that's fine.
like I said with that, resolution, if there's anything you wanna change, just let me know.
Yeah, I'm sure Lisa will be in contact and we'll make sure we're good to go on that. Now, I lost time. Don is not here today. I want to give you an update on Paycom. The payroll portion of it, for the most part, like I mentioned on Monday, is still working. We're still working to make sure that the communication with Harris is successful. The payrolls are not communicated successfully to Harris yet, but they're working on it and it should happen. To just put it in some kind of a setting, Don isn't upset, so I think things are getting done. But everything is being dumped into, right now, into Fund 100. In other words, the highway department, the health department, everything is being dumped into Fund 100. So that will go out once the communications are fixed, but just to let you know what's going on. And Harris is being cooperative, so we don't think we have any issues. On your sheet that Don provided you, you'll notice that the Fund 100 is roughly $344,000 in the hole, but that's because of the payroll issues, and also we have received very, very little on taxes from the state of Illinois this month yet. Of course, it's early in the month, it's just the 8th. Everything else there, I think, speaks for itself. I wanted to mention on committees that we need to, the Building and Grounds Committee, Andy, to start. I know we just got through with 8 hours of meeting yesterday, and we may have another 4 today on the jail. But we need to come up, the committee needs to do some planning and assignments for the new annex. I mean, I think we need to hear from everybody that's involved and get them in, everything from our Harzy to Dina, and get everybody's input, ESDA, and get figured out where everything's gonna go. And we've got some painters that have been suggested and that we can use. I know we're in no rush. Dina and Don are not in a big hurry to get in there. One doesn't want to go before the other one because, say, like if we don't get Don in there till later on this year, then people that are paying taxes have to go separate places. So we do have time, but I think we need to make an effort to get a good plan going. Okay?
Yeah.
And it has to be after the roof and after the back wall and some of the other things that need to be done. So.
Has Diamond Brothers gave us a timeline on when they'd be done?
No, not yet.
All right.
No, but we've still got to I've got to call Donnie. I haven't had a chance to call him about double checking on that stuff and why they haven't pulled some of that stuff out of there.
Okay.
Sorry for the miscommunication, Andy. Okay, go into our reports. I guess, Dan, you have anything on?
Not much. I talked to Andrew yesterday. Everything at the shelter is going okay, so.
You did talk to her finally?
Yes, I did. She answered my text, so no problems.
Okay. They have I noticed they have quite a donation fund.
Yes, I know I noticed that too, yeah.
So, I mean, maybe they can come up, or the committee and Kirk can come up with some projects to.
I know she has the doors have to be replaced. We got that problem, but.
Well, right.
And I think she wants to do something with the cages. The cages are getting in really bad shape. So she was gonna try to get somebody to come in and work on those. So it would be quite a bit of that money probably.
Okay.
Didn't she go ahead and order the doors?
Yeah, we told her to go ahead and order. There's 3 doors that need to be replaced.
Out at the bottom, rusting out at the bottom of the shelter.
We discussed that at me. The board discussed that, and I thought you were here, but.
On order and all that, just gotta put them in. When we get them.
Oh, I know, I texted you on it and asked you about it.
Okay.
No, I'm.
Okay. Okay.
All right. I'll get the stuff out if you need it.
Okay.
But remember the pricing, Andy, where they were suggesting just doing 2 doors at first, and we said just do all 3, Andy. I'm talking to Andy now.
Right, actually, we just said go ahead and.
Yeah, she ordered it, but I got the board's permission to go ahead and do it, so. All right, Lud, Russ, Carl?
I talked to a neighbor of Diamond Brothers and about the removing trees, and I've got to get back with that other guy about the ground out there, about the pockets he talked about.
Yes, we need to bring that up today. I've got that on my list to talk to
I've got a
Michael.
few other things I need to bring up. I talked to a 911 coordinator this morning, and I told her as soon as we got done here, I gotta go down there and measure something, and then we'll meet up out there.
Out at her place?
Yeah.
Not at because we were gonna maybe go to the other the new building before we went out there.
Oh,
you and
okay.
Andy and I
All right.
and Russ,
Okay, all
to
right.
take a look at
The
what,
trees and
what we need to cut.
everything back
I
there.
also wanted to show you that little building to the side
Right,
is actually our ground.
yeah. I saw the other day, I pulled back in there and there's a stake.
Right,
there.
we had, I had Josh go
Yeah.
out there, or not Josh, but call Colvin
Mhm.
and have his folks go out there and identify the pins. So
Yeah.
we need to figure out how we're gonna handle that,
Right.
okay? Any questions on Russ?
Probably sometime, maybe we'll briefly talk if the sheriff's out there. Sometime in the next couple of weeks, we need to have a sheriff's meeting. But we'll see when everybody's available.
I guess this would be an appropriate time. Lisa brought up to me that she had heard that drug court had started. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
So
I've
I
heard
just
that.
called up Harsey
Yeah.
before the meeting, and he informed me that they had a candidate that was going to be, go get judgment on the 17th. And then they were gonna have a drug, and he's a candidate, a preliminary candidate for drug court. And they were gonna have a drug meeting on the 22nd. I may have my dates all messed up, but we're having a drug court meeting of all the participants on the 23rd. And I asked him to, please, because we're not getting information from anywhere else, if he would include us on the, Augie and I at least,
Right.
on what's happening and make sure we're on the list to receive any correspondence or emails.
When you say candidate, someone to be in charge of that?
No,
Or-
somebody actually that will go through it.
Through it,
And I
okay.
guess they've started to work out some, deals with Monty as far as it's only one candidate, so they feel they can absorb that
Mhm.
at this point, so there wouldn't be any new expenses, but
And just to see how it all works,
Right.
whether to,
yes.
Where to go.
So I knew that you might,
yeah.
it's at 2 o'clock, but I'll remind you, 2 o'clock on the 23rd, at courthouse, or courtroom 1.
Okay.
So,
That's all I have.
okay. Lisa,
Solar. I spoke to somebody, I mentioned it on Monday, so I did return the call. And I appreciate returning calls for anybody that they send my way, and I think that's usually Dina, on whether or not the installation falls within the ordinance, which this one did not. It was a homeowner, actually. Wind, I returned a call from a lady who owns 150-some acres just south of Ridge Farm Road, has been approached by 2 different companies for wind. So I always share that they need to make sure that they go with the Farm Bureau recommended attorneys, because that is a specialty. Don't go with your regular attorney, even if they do trusts. Broadband, Gary, could you please do a little synopsis on where we are with the survey? Gary, thank goodness, is leading how we're going to get our survey initially disseminated.
Right, the Soybean Association Extension all came up with a preliminary survey for everybody to look at with questions about what's your broadband like, how does it work, are you happy with it, what's your download speed, all the other stuff that the data that they need. That is going to be this organization's, or the group that's meeting in the county, their responsibility to push it out. So we have to write a introduction to the survey, which I did. It's gone to the committee members, they made some suggestions, we're incorporating that. And when, and the contact that we have with the extension office who's working on that said she still believes there are some loose ends that she has to tie up with the Edgar County Committee, so I'm hoping we'll be pushing that survey out in the paper next Saturday. And then the other partners in this group will be using their sites and their contacts to also encourage Edgar County residents to fill out the survey. Give us the data on what we need to convince, whether it's the state or whatever, to bring in, help us bring broadband to Edgar County out into the rural areas where it does not exist. And doing some of the background research, I found out Minnesota has a very unique plan, and that they're using some of their COVID money and other monies to actually help bring fiber optics to each farm.
It'd be pretty pricey.
Yeah, well, and amazingly, it has bipartisan support in the legislature to do so. Where their disagreement is just how much do we put into it, and when do we put into it. So, I mean, that is certainly one option. If you can get fiber optics,
You're at the top.
yeah, oh, no kidding, and you don't have to worry about, I've got my antenna up, but then the trees are blowing and it's interrupting my reception. So I'm hoping by next Saturday, we will have a story in the paper with information on how to access. And of course, it'll be on our website. We'll push it on Facebook, which gets like 70,000 hits a day, linking to the survey. And then Farm Bureau will push it, schools will push it, encourage everybody. I mean, it's confidential, you're not gonna get robocalls trying to sell you anything. It's just, we need the data to convince legislators or providers. There's a market here, not as big a market as perhaps in Minneapolis, but we're a market.
Thank you.
Augie and I were talking beforehand. I am very appreciative that Angie Garwood and Jeremy Lawson volunteered to be the points of contact for any questions about the survey. And Angie had asked me about how we could handle doing paper surveys. And so Augie and I are working on that detail. So we'll need to get that figured out before, like now.
Yeah, I spoke with the folks who have the Christmas leader, and they said they would just take our story and put it in their paper to help get the word out.
Okay. So that's moving forward. It is a lot of work, but it's one of the things that we should be doing, and we have an excellent committee. I had a HRC board meeting this morning, and I wanted to share a few things with you. They have had an opening for a clinical director for quite some time, and they hired Dr. Julia Wernz, who came from Wabash Valley Professionals over in Vermilion County, Indiana, and she has quite a bit of experience creating programs and including improved or increased communication and training with EMS and police, so that has to be a good thing. HRC is contracted with Horizon Health for emergency department services as needed. They also partner with Horizon Health on crisis assessment at providers' offices. So if the assessment that the provider is doing reaches a certain threshold, then they can call HRC and they'll work with that patient. Their cleaning service, as you know, quite a few use their, public and private businesses use their HRC's cleaning service. They have a contract with the VA that because they are going to have to or are already having to deal with minimum wage requirement. So cleaning services outside of the VA contract will probably be reduced or ended because you can't justify minimum wage to that audience for the work that they do. And they are starting, and I don't know the details on this, but they are starting a senior adult special needs program, and they have purchased a handicap van for transportation. And here is your trivia of the day. Most bleach comes from Russia and Ukraine. Because they were talking about the increased costs, and they were getting a new water softener for their laundry facilities, which will decrease their need for bleach and salt.
So you're saying that sometime in the future, they're not gonna be able to provide us services?
That may be the case.
Isn't there some, I mean, they have not, did they have some, that they were able to pay people less?
And that's going away because they're saying that even special needs would have to be paid minimum wage.
So the end result is that they're gonna lose their jobs? That's pretty smart.
No, it is,
You mean
yeah, real smart.
the folks that help us here,
Huh?
the whole,
So.
Right.
Yeah, so that's of course Jonathan's to have that communication if and when that happens, but just let you know, that's an impact of a decision that sounded like a good thing, but might
I wouldn't
not
think it costs that much, giving them the wage.
Huh?
have. Would compared to what they're given now.
Well,
They're paying
okay.
now.
Yeah,
So we have a annual contract with them?
Yes.
Or when that runs out?
I'd have to check.
We might check, cause you know, but,
well, it's gonna impact us at the new place too.
right,
Because they were cleaning that for the other company before we took it, so, and they were willing to do that.
yeah.
I think that's it.
Well, that's a bummer, Theodore,
Yes.
that and the bleach.
So Gary, I would definitely advise you to talk to Jonathan for actual information on that.
Yeah.
Not me.
All right. Is there anything else to come before the meeting today? I don't know about you guys, but I'm about meeting out this week. Yes, do we need to have a closed session?
We probably should, you think, or no?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know.
About Monday.
For what? About what we talked about Monday?
I think right now, I don't think we need one.
Nothing.
I think the answer is no.
Yeah.
No, we don't need one.
All right then.
Okay.
I told you.
Motion to adjourn? Russ, got you, Lisa, then Lisa. All those in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. We're adjourned.
Right.